How's it going, everyone? Wayne Leonone here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Tonight, we are doing another segment on Get to Know That Cosplayer, and tonight's featured cosplay guest is Lavender Town, also known as Connor. How are we doing tonight, Connor?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I'm glad was able to get a hold of you because like I said, I'm glad this series is doing really well to where the point I can just start asking cosplayers if they're interested.
And that's how I ended up here today.
Oh, again, thank you. So, usually during these interviews, I always ask, how long you've been cosplaying for, what kind of cosplays you've done, the con you've gone to, any advice you like to throw out there, or challenges you faced while cosplaying over the years. So, to begin, I usually don't ask this question until later. What got you into cosplaying?
What got me into cosplaying? So back when I was in high school, I actually did technical theater design competitively, and I got into costuming specifically very heavily. I just really enjoyed the whole like going in and like reading about characters and doing kind of the character analysis and then designing costumes that I thought would either fit the theme of the play or the character themselves and playing with all those kind of different things. I had a friend actually that you mentioned you had just interviewed the other day. They go by Roman now, but we met in high school, and he was really involved doing cosplay back then, and would tell me about it and kind of tell me con stories and stuff. And I was like, that sounds so cool. And I was a huge weeb, so I was like, I love it. That sounds really neat. And so he eventually convinced me to go to a con with him, and I had done like a little bit of cosplay prior to that, but that was kind of just diving headfirst into things.
Nice. So, what was your very first con then?
The first con that I ever attended, I think, was Komori Con. I want to say it was 2017.
That's not bad. So you've been roughly going to cons for 4 years then.
Yeah, with two of those being Rona shut down.
Hmm. And you've gone to some local cons around here in Medford too, like Metal Art Comic-Con and Medford Comic-Con.
Yeah, I've gone. I went to the one that they held at the library, I think 2 years consecutively. I don't know if they held it last year. I just kind
No,
of
they they
decided with,
they didn't. COVID kind of shut that down for who
yeah,
knows how long.
I know. I heard a couple rumors that like a couple cons were going to try and power through, but I didn't really follow them after that.
Yeah,
But
no, Metal Art Medford Comic-Con's been kind of dark for a while since the pandemic.
yeah. But yeah, no, I went to those two. I think for the most part, I've just stuck with like Portland and Washington cons.
The bigger cons and everything.
Yeah, it's just timing with like work and school and all of that. I'm like, when I go, I just try and go for like the full home run.
Hey, mm, can't argue with that. So what was it like when you went to KomoriCon?
Well, I missed the first day because I had a final on it, so I only went the second and then half of the third, and it was a very interesting experience for sure. I had never really been in a setting with so many like-minded nerdy people, and that was really really fun. And just kind of like hanging out with like friends, and like the big thing that like has kept me coming back to cons, I think more than anything, is like the friends that I've made through them.
Oh
The
no,
just the social aspect is like my favorite part. And on that like first day, I met like 20 new people. I'm like, you're all so great, and I'm having such a good time.
I feel like that's probably the one best place is to make friends is cons. You may not get always get to see them, but when you do, it's like, hey, how you been? Nice cosplay and everything.
It's been 20 years in the dark ages, but it feels like it's only been a mere minute.
Oh man. Now do you remember your very first cosplay that you did for your first con?
Yes. So first cosplay is kind of, it's a little choppy because I had an ex who tried to get me into it initially before Roman finally convinced me to like fully commit. And they were really into South Park. And so I tried to pull off a Kenny cosplay from South Park. With all things like purchased on Amazon, like had no idea how to like actually buy costume parts off of Amazon. So I ended up with like a parka that was 2 sizes too small
Oh
and a wig that
no.
wouldn't fit over my head. So that was like technically my first cosplay. But then the first one that I did for a con was actually Junko from
Danganronpa?
Wow, I'm complete. Yeah, I was like, my brain just completely wiped Danganronpa from my memories there for a
I've
second.
I've heard the past few interviews I've done, I've heard that name so many times. It's like, okay, now I know who it's from now. Um, so what was it like cosplaying such a, from what I've seen and heard, such a zany, wild card of a character from such a
It was
somewhat well known anime?
it was weird. So I definitely Junko is like has stayed one of my favorite characters just because the actual like character concepts for her. The OG design, I think she was supposed to like actually be like the first character that they killed off. And then the creator of the video game was like, actually, I want her to be the like the main like antagonist. Because why not? And everyone was like, well, like, what's her motive? And he's like, oh, she's just I don't know if I can cuss on here. I almost said,
Batshit crazy. It's okay.
yeah.
I'll let a few curse words slide. Just know, just if it slips out, that's okay. Again, it's not all that professional. Like when I first started, I feel like just be yourself. Just be careful here and there.
Yeah, I'm like, I try and keep my language, but there's a couple times I'm like, oh wait, hold on. But yeah, no, she's just batshit insane. And I was like, I enjoy that because I feel like a lot of media tries to give like the bad guy like way too many like background scenarios to like justify it, but still paint them as the villain.
Kind of like
Uh,
Toga from My Hero Academia.
Kind of, yeah, where they went into like more of the I feel like My Hero Academia, more of the villains have like a relatable concept to them. I can't really think of a good scenario right now. I guess like Evil Within, kind of, if you know the like
I'm
main.
I'm familiar with the game.
Yeah, it's like the main character, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm also probably crossing things over, but is like he has like his moral like drive for why he's doing the stuff that he's doing, but they still definitely paint him in like a bad light. So you still have this like identifiable evil, but it kind of gets muddled sometimes, I feel. So he's just like, no, she's just crazy, and there's no other reasons. I was like, I don't know why, but I can get down with that.
So, did you make the cosplay for Junko, or did you buy it, or how did you go about cosplaying her?
So I bought it initially and then altered it so it actually fit correctly. I do more female cosplays like 99% of the time,
There
and
is nothing wrong with that at all.
yeah, I steer towards more female cosplays, and then obviously I was born male, so there's some anatomy that isn't necessarily exactly lined up there, so I have to
Hmm. Hey,
mess
that
around with some of the measurements and stuff when I'm buying stuff, especially. So had to alter it so it fit me correctly, and then didn't style the wig at all because to this day, wig styling is the bane of my existence, and just
hey,
kind of went for it.
there's nothing wrong with that. Speaking of wigs, real quick, for those who are listening, if anyone needs any kind of tips on styling wigs, I do have a podcast panel called Cosplay Wig and Makeup Styling for those who want to check that out.
Yeah, no, wigs have just never been my strong suit personally. It's a lot of time and attention and care, and I get distracted way too easily.
Not to mention Junko. She's got like pigtails or big hair, like not the mermaid hair,
Her
but like the ends of her hair are like really big and pink and poofy.
Yeah, her wig is definitely one of those ones that it took me probably the better part of a year to actually figure out how I wanted it to look, I guess. With the like character model, like leaves a lot for interpretation. So like every Junko cosplayer that you see, I love it because everybody has their own personal take on it. So you like can see each cosplayer's like own adaptations, I guess, which is super fun. But then also when you're doing it, it's challenging to be like, okay, well, like, how do I want to do this? So I went through a lot of trial and error, and I where I've ended now, I'm kind of happy with. I'm sure I'll continue to tweak stuff with it as time goes on.
Well, looking forward to it. And I know there are some cosplayers who have the advantage of using their own hair as well for Junko.
Yeah. I think I've only used my actual hair once for a cosplay, and it was for Cammy from My Hero Academia.
Ooh.
The first time that I did her, the wig, Con Crunch, always, never not. um, I don't remember what con it was for, but I was going up and I was staying with my friend Jay, underscore dot JPEG, I think is their title or handle on Instagram. And I, like, the night before I went up, I like checked the shipment on the wig because it was supposed to arrive that day, and it was like still at the distribution center. So I had to like reroute the delivery. I think I ended up rerouting it to Roman's house, and then he was gonna drop it off for me at the con. And so it was literally the most last second you could get. First day of con, picked up the wig, went back to Jay's that night and tried to style it. And the like fit of the wig, the style that I had bought it in, and the color that it ended up actually showing up in were all just not functional because it like didn't want to fit my head and then wouldn't fit under like the cap that she wears because I had sized it to like closer to my head size with a little bit of room, but not enough. And so I ended up saying like, screw it on the next day. And I just wore my normal hair, which kind of worked for it at the time. It covered up enough of the root grow out. And I was like, this is blonde.
It works.
It works. If it fits, I sits. Let's go.
I think I actually remember Medford Comic-Con 2019. I think it was 2018 or 2019. I think I actually remember seeing your Kami cosplay. You were like wearing the one-piece suit.
Yeah, I did. I had a friend, I think Linner Play Cosplays. Their name's Nova, or his name's Nova. But he did an entire magical girl My Hero Academia like design set. And it was supposed to be like this big group thing that we all did, and ended up, as a lot of cosplay groups do, falling apart towards the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens.
I made the magical girl Cammy, and it was so fun to make. And the final product I really, really enjoyed. I wore it for the Medford Comic-Con, and then when I tried to get out of it to go to work shortly thereafter, same day, I broke the zipper on the side of it.
Oh, no.
So I need to seam rip that like entire panel out and put a new zipper in, and I have not gotten back around to it.
That actually was going to be one of the questions I asked, if you have like any convention horror stories in that sense.
I definitely have a few. I think my worst convention horror story was I was competing. I was doing a cosplay that my friend had done a design for. Another cosplay group was different evolutions as like D&D characters. Some of the concepts that cosplayers come up with, I'm amazed. It brings joy to my heart.
So like Pokemon D&D?
Yeah, so pretty much they each person picked like an evolution, so Glaceon, Flareon, Jolteon, all of those ones, and then got to pick like what class they wanted to do.
Ooh.
And then did a design for it.
Nice.
So like one of my friends, they were doing like a Barbarian Flareon and stuff like that.
Nice.
So I decided to do a Paladin Sylveon. And I was chatting with one of my friends that I played D&D with at the time, and she does amazing, amazing art. I love her. I'll try and find it while I'm telling the story real quickly. What her handle is, at least. I think it's like Carson's Demons, or I think it's still that.
Yeah, and also feel free to give any of your friends shout-outs too while we're doing this.
I'm like, my brain is the biggest challenge there, is just remembering all the handles and actual names.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. While you're doing that, so you said you've cosplayed about 90% of your cosplays are female. Have you had any struggles or challenges you had to face while cosplaying female characters?
Unwanted attention is definitely one of them. And for me personally, that's just like the only thing that I've really run into that's been an issue. Um, is people just kind of assume the kind of the whole like cosplay is not consent thing. Definitely have been in a couple scenarios where people have taken being in like a most female characters tend to have a little bit more sexualized designs in nature, but having a lot of people see that and being like, ah, okay, cool. This is an excuse that I can like say things to you. Like, no, it's really not.
No, cosplay does not equal consent. That's one thing I think a lot of cosplayers can agree on. It is, just because it's a character you like, hey, you see someone cosplaying your favorite character doesn't mean you can go up to them and do something without their permission. Whether it be take
Yeah.
a photo, ask for a hug, or something.
Yeah. I think it's hard because like some people genuinely have good intentions with stuff, and it's just I feel like they don't know like etiquette very well.
Oh no.
Um, but and those people, they usually, if you're just like, hey, by the way, like that made me uncomfortable, or hey, by the way, if you could just do this in the future, they usually are pretty good about correcting themselves and usually like apologize for whatever it is. But there have just been a couple scenarios where I've like definitely had to get a little bit more, I want to say aggressive with people, but like assertive of like the like
Hey,
no,
sometimes
no.
sometimes you have to make your point that you do not want to be bothered at a con.
Yeah, and so it's like and it's nice to see kind of the whole community pushing that as like a primary thing, I guess.
It's definitely a good
There's
thing.
not really like cosplay like spotlights, but yeah, I think that's the biggest like challenge I've run into there. But the cosplay horror story, just to give that a quick wrap up, I had talked with my friend. We'd made a design together that was pretty much a more traditional, like shrine maiden inspired design for the Espeon. And I, again, con crunch, waited till like the night before I was in the con room finishing the sewing on details and stuff. And in the morning, I slept in a little bit late, was late to the judging, so I was sprinting to the convention center. We like were right across the street. I was halfway there, full running in like 6-inch heels, just booking it across the
Kudos
con.
to you for doing that. Not many people can run in, not many people can run in heels, let alone 6-inch heels.
I can
So
run in heels, not beautifully, but we can make it happen. I call it like the frog stance. You get like the wide stance. You just kind of hobble your way as fast as you can. It is a sight to see for sure.
Oh, I bet.
Um, just 6'6" Connor coming right at you. And so I'm booking it, and I hear someone like they call out. They're like, I don't remember what they just started like screaming behind me, and I was like, hey, I would love to stop, but I like do not have time. Like I'm 20 minutes late for this thing, and I feel really really bad about making the judges wait and all that. So I'm just like booking it, and I hear someone like catching up behind me, and I feel so the design was pretty much, it was like a wrap, and then the sleeves were off the shoulders but connected like under the armpit so that they would stay up, and then they had a long trail on them. By the side, I think you already know where this is going.
I feel like it sounds like a cosplay mishap story.
I keep going, and I feel a sharp tug on my right arm, and I hear that sickening snap of thread as my entire right sleeve just comes off. They had tried to chase me down and grabbed onto my sleeve to get my attention. I was like, oh god. That was just one of those moments where I just saw kind of like my like life crumble before my eyes, and I was like, okay, like, hi, I just wanted to get your attention. I was like, oh, I know that you only had the best of intentions, but you just killed a little bit of my soul.
There's, and I've noticed this common for cosplayers who have like the big long lengthy cosplays where someone will accidentally step or tug onto it and then it'll just rip. Like, I don't think most people realize how much time and effort goes into making those big cosplays just for
Yeah.
someone just to like just a little tug or something, and you just hear that.
And you don't know how to con crunch. It might be held on by like 3 rows of stitching. It might be like contact cement and like tacky glue and a little bit of like hopes and prayers. But yeah, that's probably my like worst like con like nightmare story. I have lots of other ones. My life is a series of mishaps that I try and make the best out of. But
Yeah,
that's probably the most of just like
man, that's never fun. Now, next question I always ask, I try to ask this for every cosplayer. What are your thoughts on thrifting for your cosplay, especially if you're on a budget?
I think honestly it's a wonderful option. Um, I think everyone's kind of at their own levels of cosplay, and that's something that like I feel like needs to just not like be acknowledged sounds incorrect, but there seems to be kind of like two schools of thought I've noticed with a lot of people, which is kind of the like elitist where it's like the like, oh, you need to make it look like it's supposed to, and then the one where it's like the 100% like how you interpret it. And I feel like cosplay should just be whatever you make of it, whether or not that's just like wearing a hat of your favorite character or if it's thrifting the closest thing that you can find. And as long as you are happy with that end result, that's all that matters.
Oh
No
no,
one, no one else's opinion like
wholeheartedly.
really should like influence that. Just as long as you're having a good time and you're not making anyone else around you like physically uncomfortable or emotionally uncomfortable. But as long as you're not making other people uncomfortable and you're happy, go
Oh,
for it.
oh, wholeheartedly. Now, I gotta ask, the thumbnail we're using for this podcast. Who is that character? Because all I gotta say, that dress looks just aesthetically pleasing.
Thank you. That is Danny from Wow. Me and forgetting names of things is the game of today, I guess. Hooky, there we go. It is a web comic by a really, really talented artist. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, but it's a really, really cute story about this brother and sister who come from a family of witches who miss the bus to Witch Academy and the hijinks that kind of ensue after that. Um, so there is an arc where the characters, slight spoiler alert here, one of the characters goes kind of evil queen mode, and I saw the design for it when I was reading through it, and I was like, that one, I'm doing that one.
That's like, for how much black you used, you definitely made use of all that black.
Yeah, it's very very gothic, and I love it with all my heart. And I was so happy to do that cosplay, and I actually ended up getting a shout out from the artist on their Instagram, and that was like probably my like shining achievement in cosplay.
Nice.
Because
Well, congrats.
I woke up one morning. I think it's like my most liked, as like 1,000 likes or something like that. Stupid. And I woke up and I had just a wall of notifications. I was like, what the hell happened? I was scrolling through. I'm like, why is everyone like this? Because like when I wore that to the convention, there were like 10 people who were really, really excited to see it because they're like, freaking no one knows what Hooky is. Oh my God, I'm so happy. And I was like, yeah. But for the most part, it was just kind of like, oh, what character is that? And I would explain it. And I'm like, oh, I haven't heard of it. I was like, it's worth a check out. So I was like, this isn't a high in demand cosplay for sure. And then like I scrolled up through and I saw the like I don't know if it was like the verified thing or I just saw their icon. And I was like, wait. And I went to their story and I saw it up and I was like, ah! I think I called my best friend and literally like screamed on the phone for 5 minutes. I was like, she saw my cosplay. She said it looked really good.
Oh, nice. No, don't at me or anyone for this. When I saw that, I literally thought, I'm glad I asked. I literally thought that was Marceline the Vampire Queen, like a gothic queen version from Adventure Time.
I mean, that is an awesome idea, which I love, but no, it was not. I could totally see it though.
I mean, so did you make that dress?
I did. It was a venture that I decided to take.
What material did you use? Because it seems to like work perfectly and everything.
So I used two different things. I used a stretch mesh for the top portion for the like neck and sleeves, and then I used it was like a really really thin. I don't know the type of fabric, but it had like kind of like a nice silky drape to it, but it had that like almost velvety finish to it. So it just
Ooh.
kind of caught the light perfectly, and I was like, this seems like it should work. I definitely ran into issues with like it was very flowy, so like the stitching going down when it was like just draped kind of caused it to like bunch up a little bit, and it definitely was a lot of trial and error to get it to lay correctly.
I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like you spent a lot of time and effort and a lot of. I'm sure there was a lot of praying just for it to make sure it fit right and everything.
Yeah, the mesh on the top, because it was stretch, offered a little bit of forgiveness, but the like waistline on that thing, I have for my stature a fairly small waist, but my thighs do not lie, as the kids say. So putting it on, I had to like, I felt like, is it, which Carrie is it from Ace Ventura and Nature Calls? I don't know if you've seen the scene where he's leaving the elephant or the rhino robot. But
Yeah, you basically felt like Ace coming out of the rhino's butt. Yeah, I know. See,
yeah,
I feel like that. I feel like that should be like a meme for cosplayers. Like what it's like trying to fit into a cosplay.
that was definitely the vibe I was getting, putting that on and taking it off.
I mean, it seems to contort to your body really well, though, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I do a lot of. I'm a professional, I swear. I do a lot of like duct tape patterns. So when I was making the pattern for the cosplay, I actually recruited one of my friends to wrap me in saran wrap and then cover me in duct tape so we could get like the like perfect fit pattern for it.
And that's a really good method too. I've seen a lot of cosplayers do that, especially with like armored cosplays.
Yeah, it's really, really good if you want something that's gonna fit snugly, or if you want to be able to like draw out the like three-dimensional appearance of like the armor that you're gonna do. Um, it's my go-to for pretty much everything. But
Hey,
when we were
if
doing
it
the
works, it
pattern,
works.
if it broke, don't fix it. But yeah, when we were making the pattern, we didn't realize how like tight the duct tape was. And I definitely almost passed out as we got to the end, was like cutting me out of it because I was like, oh, I can't breathe. But the cosplay itself was like fairly comfortable. Definitely difficult to walk in with all like the flowy bits, but overall 10 out of 10 comfort level.
And what about the crown? To finish asking about it. What did you make that or buy it?
So the crown is actually a flower pot.
What?
Yeah, I was talking with some of my con friends, and I was like, guys, I don't know what to do for this crown because it's not going to be in the thumbnail photo, but there's a side-by-side comparison of the panel that we got the shot for during the photo shoot and like the panel from the comic. And I was showing it to them, and I was like, I don't know how to make it like look like that because it looks like this like melting like metal crown.
It
And
does not. I'm saying right now that does not. I'm looking at it right now. The full picture that you sent for the thumbnail. That does not look like a flower pot. That looks like an actual crown that you'd made. Holy crap!
yeah, and so I was like talking to them. I was like, I don't know what to like do for this. And my friend Lauren was like, dude, just make a freaking flower pot. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, just like take a heat knife and carve up a flower, like up one of those like cheap flower
Oh,
pots.
the plastic flower pots. Okay, I
Yeah.
see it now.
And
But
so I was like, that's genius. And so I ended up borrowing a heat knife and carving it up. And then we had spray paint at con where we went outside of a hotel, put down some cardboard on the side of the road in Portland and spray painted that crown.
it works. I mean, that. I have to say that is really impressive. So if anyone's looking to make a crown, just go with that method. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's cheap and it saves you time and money trying to make your own crown from scratch.
Yeah, it was super affordable. And then like a big thing that Junko made me realize very quickly was the weight that you put on your wig is like exponential in how tiring it is. So it's also lightweight, which was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, that's a fairly long. That's like a. I think that's a really long wig. I know
Yeah.
usually got like a couple minutes, but that's a really long wig. And what kind of body paint did you use for the skin tone and everything?
So the skin tone is just a little bit of color correcting, like post editing stuff.
Uh,
And then I used a very, very light, I think I actually ended up using concealer for like my face. I'm naturally just more pale. I'm Hispanic, and that comes out during the summer, and that's it. But during the winter, I stay inside and I get very white. So I just used my lightest concealer that I had, and that kind of just flushed my face out,
that's impressive.
and then just didn't add any color back in with like blush or anything like that.
That's really impressive. So to end this real quick, any last minute advice you like to give out to cosplayers or con goers or anyone thinking about going to cons or cosplaying for the first time?
Let's see. First of all, do it. You won't regret it. It's a super, super fun experience. There's nothing quite like it. But like as far as like advice, just understand that everyone's human, so try and respect that and just have a good time. Don't worry about how other people look or how you look. Just go and enjoy it for all that it is. And if you want to go for panels, go for panels. If you want to just go and hang out with your friends, just go and hang out with your friends. It doesn't matter how you do enjoy a con, just that you enjoy a con.
That's that's some pretty sound advice. I mean, with COVID and everything, the restrictions being lifted, a lot of people are just chomping at the bits at the gate, ready to go back into cons.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to a couple people about like this upcoming Kamori Con, and it's kind of a mixed bag of whether or not they're like actually wanting to go to it or if they're wanting to like wait till the next con.
I'm probably gonna wait till next year. I'm only going to two cons myself this year, and that will be it until next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how like the different implements that they put into place to try and keep everyone safe as far as virus stuff is concerned.
That's it.
But it's definitely nice to see that it's like starting to kick back off again.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. That should about wrap it up. Again, Connor, thank you for coming on. Definitely learned a lot, and again, really well done, Danny Cosplay. That's I have to give props to you because not many people are willing to go that far just to make that one cosplay. And again, that's pretty cool that you got some recognition from the creator of of that web comic.
Oh yeah, that makes me very happy. The next one, I'm starting on a new major project. I'm doing Loba from Apex Legends, and
Ooh.
I'm super looking forward to it. It's gonna be a labor of love, but that's my next goal. Is I just want to look at the CEO of Respawn, who streams a lot, and just point at the pants and be like, "What the hell material was this supposed to be made out of? I hate you."
Well,
I
I'm
love
sure.
video game designers. They don't understand how actual material works sometimes.
Hey, I'm sure a lot of us are looking forward to seeing that when you get that done. Again, thank you for coming on, and to those who are listening, I'm Wayne the Unknown, joined here by Connor, aka Lavender Town. Thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you for watching.